Jimmy, Brooklyn, New York, the great WABC. Go.
You mentioned a little while ago Oscar Lopez Rivera. Now, this was a communist terrorist who blew up bombs and murdered Americans. And then Obama let him out of prison early after serving 35 years for killing Americans. Well, Oscar Lopez Rivera yesterday spoke at Hofstra University. So you see, the communist terrorists in the 1960s and 70s that were blowing up buildings, killing Americans, trying to make communist revolution, they became professors. And they've been brainwashing and indoctrinating and organizing our kids, our students, who are now congressmen and senators. And this group out there now, Antifa, this Marxist revolutionary group, they will be the next wave of hardline Marxist professors. They're raping our students' minds. They're committing ideological terrorism. They're planned, they're trained, they know what they're doing. They're making great salaries. They're getting paid to destroy us. We need to enforce something like separation of Marx and state. We should not be funding people who are working to destroy us. It's not an accident that we see all this kind of violence in the streets. And now some kook who appears to be a right-wing guy, if this is all true, the whole media is blaming this on the conservatives when the violence from the left. I remember the protests during the Vietnam War. I remember the so-called anti-war people out there with the communist flags. And I saw the signs, Vietnam Veterans Against the War. That was John Kerry's group. So it wasn't just anti-war, they were anti-American. Well, those people have been indoctrinating our students forever. The media was on the enemy side during the Cold War. So the idea that they're fake news, it's actually worse than that for maybe 90% of the media. And I've been trying to get this story out about Oscar Lopez Rivera. I gave it to so many people, I don't want to embarrass them, even in the media, and nobody touched the story.
Well, you just gave it to millions. Yep.
Well, that's good. Now, there's another enemy agent coming up to speak in New York, Angela Davis. She's a high-level Communist Party official. She's a fanatical Castro supporter. She supports terror, communist revolution, and she ran for vice president on the American Communist Party ticket. She's coming to New York University November 5th, Monday. And I'm getting this from a Marxist newspaper called The Independent. They spell it I-N-D-Y-P-E-N-D-E-N-T, The Independent.
Clever.
Now, wait, I got to tell you more. This paper was put out by a group who did a fundraiser for Lynn Stewart, the communist attorney that defended terrorists.
Right.
This paper works with Muslims in mosques and Muslim neighborhoods, trying to work with them, convince them to quit cooperating with the police and the FBI. This group celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Soviet Revolution, and this year they celebrated the 200th birthday of Karl Marx. So they're colluding with Russia. They're colluding with all America's enemies, and they're having enormous influences on their colleges and everything, and they're blaming all the trouble on the people who oppose them.
You have to wonder why the media, that claims to be so anti-Russian, why they don't pay attention to any of this, because you're right, this is real collusion. It's taking place in our schools and universities and in these public forums. All right, Jimmy, I appreciate your call, buddy. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This guy, Andrew Gillum, I like to call him Andy Gillum, just because I'm sure it makes him upset. And I like to make leftists upset. He's got other problems, folks. There's a breaking story this evening. This is from the Tallahassee Democrat. I'm telling you, it's the local newspapers that really are covering this race correctly. FBI undercover agent paid food tab for Andrew Gillum fundraiser documents review. Let me tell you, Florida, particularly you independents haven't voted yet or thinking about it, you could have a guy here who's under investigation for his entire governorship if you elect him as your governor. Because this guy was taking freebies left and right. You know about the Costa Rica trip, you know about the Hamilton ticket, you know about the hotel in New York City. These things are worth thousands of dollars. But here's the breaking story tonight by the Tallahassee Democrat. An undercover FBI agent posing as an Atlanta developer seeking to do business with the city of Tallahassee, where he was mayor, Gillum, picked up the catering bill for a 2016 fundraiser for Mayor Andrew Gillum's nascent political action committee, Forward Florida. The PAC would eventually become the war chest of Gillum's gubernatorial campaign. It is the first piece of evidence linking the ongoing FBI probe to Gillum's broader campaign for statewide office. And this stuff's trickling out, not due to the DeSantis campaign or the Republicans, but due to one of the people who's caught up in this, the lobbyist. The emails and receipts released Friday, today, as part of a supplemental records request from the Florida Commission on Ethics shows that the agent, the undercover FBI agent, Mike Miller, was invoiced $4,386 by 101 Restaurant and Mint Lounge, a restaurant owned by lobbyist Adam Corey at the time. Now, this guy, Corey, is buddies, or was, with Gillum. An email exchange shows that Miller paid the bill and Gillum sent him a personal thank you. That is a thank you note for the food. Now, Gillum has been lying through his teeth all along about the extent of this investigation, and he knows the extent of this FBI investigation. He's been lying about the extent of the FBI investigation. He's been lying about his involvement in corruption in this city of Tallahassee. And it is corrupt. And today, again, he's trashing police officers. Police officers that are forced to draw a weapon, even a taser. Well, then they've blown it, according to him. A month after meeting Mike Miller, this is the FBI undercover agent, for breakfast at the Power Plant Cafe at the Edison, Corey, that's the lobbyist, enlisted the undercover agent to help foot the bill for a fundraising dinner at Corey's house on behalf of Gillum's gubernatorial campaign. Now, keep in mind, Corey, the lobbyist and buddy of Gillum, didn't know that this guy Miller was an undercover agent, of course. An email exchange between Corey and Lowe and Bryce Barnes, a Florida Democratic Party official, who would go on to become finance director for Gillum's campaign, show them arranging a dinner fundraiser at Corey's house for Forward Florida, Gillum's gubernatorial PAC. The PAC was originally set up as a general lead. So now you have his gubernatorial PAC doing a fundraiser, and the meal is paid for by the undercover agent, the undercover FBI agent. Now, clearly that's illegal. The flyer billed the event as honoring Gillum, and in one email, Barnes described it as the first kick-up event for his campaign. It was attended by roughly 40 Tallahassee notables, including this one and that one. We have a pathway with the outstanding to get to 37,850. Whatever we can push to get us over that $40,000 mark would be amazing, Barnes wrote to Corey. Thank you again for all your work to make a successful event last night. The minimum donation for the dinner was $5,000 a person. But Corey, the lobbyist and buddy of Gillum, arranged an alternative donation from Miller, the undercover FBI agent. Quote, instead he is helping to underwrite the cost of the meals and drinks we enjoyed, Corey wrote to Barnes. A year before he announced his candidacy and 2 months before the fundraiser, Gillum and Daniels flew to Tampa to meet Leach, Senior Vice President of Southport Financial Services, an affordable housing developer and Democratic fundraiser. Anyway, it goes on at great length, the extent to which Gillum and his cronies went to get freebies, to associate themselves with these developers. It's just typical sleaze. Typical sleaze. And I watched this debate the other night. He couldn't have been more nasty, couldn't have been more outrageous, Gillum. And, of course, when you accuse him or even raise these issues with him, which are quite clear, he says you're bringing this stuff up because he's African-American. Look at John James in Michigan. There's a stand-up guy, a combat veteran, a successful small businessman running as a conservative to be senator from Michigan. This man is a magnificent candidate. Gillum is a disaster.